Hello, welcome to Scrap Time episode 852. My name is Christina, and on today's episode, I'm showing you the Purple Cows Encaustic Wax and Heat Tool. Today we are playing with encaustic wax, and these are from Purple Cows. And they've put out these little cubes of color. And if you've ever bought encaustic wax, you know that colored wax can be very pricey. So by giving you a smaller amount means they can give you a smaller price tag, which is great because it gets you a chance to experiment with a whole pile of colors for less money. They also have this heat tool I have warming up here. It comes with 6 ends. This is the one, the little iron is what we're going to be using today. But it also comes with a few others. There's a brush you can use for encaustic work, and then this pen, you can pick up wax and write with it. We're not using those today. And then there's a couple other ends you can use for different applications. Then you can also get a set of metallic. You get gold and silver and then some clear wax. Or you can get a set of primary red, yellow, and blue. So you can blend and mix some colors. Okay, so I'm going to just show you some samples I've played with to show you what you can make. So on all these I was blending colors. So here's some greens with blues, and then I added in some silver. Now a lot of encaustic people, their whole thing is they want to get it as smooth as possible, smooth. Whereas with me, with wax, one reason why I'm drawn to wax is the texture of it. So I like to add in that texture and get different things going on. So it all depends what you prefer. And you can also see the vibrancy of the color with these. So here's another one. Now this one I heated with a heat gun. And then blended it some more. I'm going to show you how to do that. But now this one has a really smooth feel to it. Whereas this one here, where that gets added, is more lumpy and bumpy. So it's all preference. There's another one I had heated, so it's very smooth. This one I had used a lot of clear and add some color. So that's why there's open these spots like that. But it's another really smooth one. Here's some reds and yellows. And then I've added on some stamped images. So I'm going to be showing you how you can add the texture to your wax as well. Here's some of the browns you can get. This one has, I added gold to the blues and the greens. Here's another one with the yellows. And you can see how with these ones, the stamped image really pops up. Whereas if you put it over darker, that one you can still see. But here I put it over this really dark blue, and you may not be able to see it. It's really dark on dark. So if you are going to be adding an image, just keep in mind the color you're putting on your base. Whereas that one you can totally see the image. So let's get started. Got my tag, and just for ease of work, I actually work with my tag this way rather than going across like this. I find it easier to work this way with my tag. And I'm going to pick a few colors. We'll just play along. So I've heated up my tool. It's either off and then there's 2 temperatures. I've just put it on the highest temperature because for the amount we're doing, it's fine. And so you can see it just melting right off there. And then you can now another reason a lot of people don't like to use wax is because of all the tools involved. So that's what I like about this is it's very compact. I can just use this one little tool, the wax, and I don't need a melting pot. I don't need a grill iron. You know, a lot of times too with the smell of wax, you want to have it all ventilated and that, because if you have wax with going into the air, you don't want to be breathing that all day. But because we're not melting wax constantly, we don't have those same issues. So I'm just putting wax sort of all over my tag. The other thing too is usually if you're brushing on your wax, you would want to, in between every layer, fuse it. And that's when you take heat and, a heat gun or an ironer that, and just fuse it on. But because we are applying our wax with heat, you're already sort of fusing it into one another, like the wax ends. So we don't have that same, we're doing it already in a different way. So I'm just randomly picking colors here. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this, but that's sort of the fun of playing and experimenting. Maybe I'll just add some white. So I'm just going to add this white. Then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of clear. It's just blending with the white, just sort of all over. And you'll see why in a minute I decided to do that. The other thing too, if you're using a lot of colored wax, they recommend wearing gloves. But because I'm touching just the solid, I'm not concerned about the pigment getting transferred to my fingers. And so I guess in the way I'm living on the edge, because the whole thing is you don't want to get that pigment transferred onto food and then be eating it. So I'm just going to put this aside, and so it sort of looks a little bit like a hot mess at the moment. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to sort of melt it and move it around. And just since I pulled this up, you always want to work on a craft mat. So see, I could just pull this right off the mat. I don't have to worry about it. And you don't want to ruin furniture and stuff with the wax. So make sure you work on a surface that can absorb the heat and you don't mind the wax getting on. So I'm going to heat this. So you could see how the heat activated that wax, and then we now got this whole marbling, really cool effect. I'm going to just put a bit more green down there. Just, of course, have to watch because the heat gun is hot. So I'm just going to give that a moment to dry, and now we'll get a really interesting texture. It's just a little blobby right here. I'm going to just... The other thing with wax is as soon as you can let it dry and sit there for 2 weeks, but as soon as you put heat back to it, it's going to activate again. So you can always change it any point in your creating. Just going to wipe up some of this wax here before we move to the next step. One way I like to clean up the wax is I take my heat gun there. I was able to reactivate the wax to clean it up. Now in the meantime, this has cooled, and it now is all smooth, other than here where, because it's thicker wax, but it's completely smooth and so fun to touch. So now we're going to add those stamped images like I was showing you. So to do it, what you do is you stamp onto tissue paper. This is plain white tissue paper I get from, if you buy clothes and they wrap it in tissue paper, or your shoe boxes or whatever, just plain white tissue paper. And I like to stamp using the Archival Ranger ink pads because they are waterproof and will stamp on anything. And so I'm going to add some texture here. So what I like to do is I've stamped the whole stamp, but then I tear it just to make it a little bit more random. And what you do is you take your heat gun and you want to reactivate that heat. And I'm going to stick this on. Now you can get, depending how much wax you have underneath, you can get wax and put it over top to adhere it. But because I have so much wax already, I find it just soaks right through. And you can of course clean your tool in between. I'm just blending the colors. But if you didn't want them blended that way, you can clean the tool in between. So I can tear that on. And now, just because I got a little bit, you can see the iron there, I'm just going to heat it a little bit with my so there, and then once it dries again, I'll just cut off the excess. But that is one fun way you can play with the wax without a lot of tools and a lot of colors without a lot of expense, which is my favorite things. So have fun playing with your purple cows and caustic wax. Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to check out our website at www.scraptime.ca. And on our next episode, I'm showing you the mixed media inks and Stamping Bella stamps. So please join us. Thanks for watching Scrap Time.